perspective. You can see my skill levels. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for all your leadership in helping to bring us this award. And thank you to the so-called Innovation Village in the room who made this possible. Before we get into some of the details, I just want to take a moment and share on a personal level what this work means to me and what it's about at the most basic level. And this is a story from my own childhood. I used to sit on my grandfather's lap, and he would tell me about our family. And the nutshell story is that we came from humble beginnings, and we were headed for a bright future. And the way that he told that story was that he grew up in poverty. He was in a family of 6, and they lived in a 1-bedroom. And so he slept in a tub throughout his childhood because that was what was available. And my grandmother also grew up poor and actually spent time in orphanages. And they wanted a better future for their kids. And so my grandfather went to work as a stock boy at a women's clothing store. And he was fortunate. He worked hard. He also had some family connections. And the employer took interest in him. They gave him some training opportunities. And over time, with that motivation and that opportunity, he moved up. He became a manager, and eventually he became an owner. And one of the things that my grandfather will say with a tear in his eye, and a reference point in my family, men cry when they're happy. So that's just how I grew up. He would look at me and he would say, I remember when I was earning enough that we could buy a home and your dad could get his own bedroom with his own bed. And for him, that's what gave his life purpose. And at the most basic level, that's really what our network is about. We believe that people that are coming from poverty and maybe have basic skills have great motivation. And we're about trying to create pathways for them to be able to give their kids more. And we're not, to be very clear, looking back to the 1950s. While my grandfather was fortunate, women and minorities at the same time never had those same opportunities. But what we are about is thinking in today's economy in the most inclusive way possible. What do those career pathways look like? And what is the support system that we can create working together, employers, job training organizations, community organizations, so that more people have the chance to go through those pathways and pass on a better future for their kids. So that's what we're about. The Job Opportunity Investment Network, in terms of who we are, we're a network of public and private funders. And we have 7 partners involved. The United Way is our lead partner. And then we're very fortunate to have the Knight Foundation, the William Penn Foundation, the Philadelphia WIB, the Philadelphia List, the State of Pennsylvania, and the Scattergood Foundation. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to enhance the workforce system to better meet the needs of workers and businesses so that we are preparing people for this new economy that we're in. And we have a 3-part strategy to do that. First, we invest. We invest in job training models that are employer-led, that are about moving people into available jobs, and that are about giving them career opportunities over time. We evaluate those partnerships to figure out what's working, and then we advocate. We're fortunate to have 2 public partners and a lot of resources that we can devote to making sure that the ideas that we're seeing work in our philanthropy can actually work in public policy as well. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is tell you why we're doing this work, how we're doing it, and then I want to talk about the SIF and what's next for this project, and hope that many of you who are not yet part of our part of the Innovation Village may join us for this next stage. So the why we're doing it is quite simple. We're living in very different times than we were 3 decades ago. If you think about the height of my grandfather's career, it was the 1970s. And in those days, about 3 in every 10 jobs required some kind of post-secondary training or certificate. And he didn't have that, but he was still able to thrive because most jobs didn't require it. Today, more than 7 in 10 jobs require some post-secondary training or certificate. And the problem is that as we've moved very quickly to this new economy, our skills have not kept pace. And I just want to throw out 2 numbers. And if you remember one thing, well, I guess 2 things, it would be these 2 numbers. The first is that we have 550,000 working-age adults in this city that are low literate. That means they're at 6th grade or below in terms of their current skills. When we look at the labor market, this is actually pre-recession data. There were 211,000 jobs that could be filled by people that had 6th grade or below. And that's because we moved from a manual labor-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. So the result is that we have more than half of the working age adult population in this city competing for less than 1/3 of the available jobs in the economy. And what that means in very real terms is that either people are unemployed, or if they're able to find a job at that skill level, they are as workers in such abundant supply that they're not valued, and so they're stuck in poverty wages. And so I have no doubt if my grandfather, were in this economy today, with all his motivation, he would probably be stuck in a poverty wage job without an intervention. And as his grandson, I would have never heard those stories and never had that sense of optimism, and I'd probably be stuck in the same. So that's the economy that we're up against. Now the interesting thing, and this is where our work comes from, is that this is not just a problem for adults in this city, it's also a problem for businesses. Because think about that number. More than 7 in every 10 jobs in this city require some kind of post-secondary certificate or training. Now, if you're an employer and you're looking at the population of this city and less than half of the people have that, then you're trying to fill a lot of jobs with a relatively limited skill. And so what we see, even in this recession, is that there are a lot of technical jobs that require that certificate that are being unfilled. That goes from nursing assistants to welders. And so essentially what our model is all about, and you're going to hear from 4 partnerships that are doing this work, is it's about actually bringing these problems together for a common solution. And what we do is we bring employers together. They tell us, here are the talent needs that we have that we're having trouble filling. And then we work with them to understand what their curriculum would be, how they would design it. And then there are these wonderful job training organizations and community organizations that actually create pathways with them so that people can move up. And essentially it's recreating that pathway that we believe is so important in a different economy for a different circumstance, but with the same ultimate goal of people being able to realize their potential and being able to pass on a better life for their kids. So that's how we do it. We bring these groups together, and you'll hear from them in a bit. The final thing I just want to talk about is what this whole SIF is about. So essentially, this SIF is raising the bar for our collaboration in 2 levels. First, we're actually bringing more funders into this project, and we're thrilled that we have the Fells Fund, the Philadelphia Foundation, the Clinneal Foundation, and a number of employers in West Philadelphia who have joined this effort and who are aligning support with the SIF project. And what that means is that they're actually going to be working with us in the review of these projects over time. Now, I know collaboration is a bit hackneyed, so you hear about it a lot. I want to talk just really briefly about how this collaboration really benefits our community. So what happens when we have a lot of funders at the table is that we stop thinking in terms of jobs and we start thinking about how do we solve interconnected community challenges. And it's because everyone's coming at it from a different perspective. And you're going to hear it a bit from the Roots to Reentry partnership. And I don't want to steal their thunder because it's loud and it's bold, and they should get the privilege to share it with you. But I'll just say that if we didn't have the Scattergood Foundation at our table, we would have never thought to connect landscaping jobs with behavioral health to help people that are leaving prison re-enter society. And we never would have had the idea, without William Penn at the table, that the community gardens could be a potential source to employ some of those landscaping jobs. And so because all these funders are at the table, because they're coming from different perspectives, and because we're trying to situate this around jobs, what we come up with in the end are very interconnected solutions to what we know are interconnected problems. The same type of collaboration is also happening at the implementation level. This is going to bring more employers together, more nonprofits, more job training organizations. And what that means is that we're going to get more integrated solutions. If you are a lower skilled adult in this city, it's not just about literacy. It's also technical skills. It's also about childcare. It's also about transportation. For many people, it's also about health. And so it's not enough just to have one job training organization doing one-off interventions. It needs to be integrated because where there's a breakdown in the system, those are breakdowns in people's lives. And then people don't show up for work on time and they don't get that next step in their career path. And so what's happening with collaboration at the implementation level is that we're bringing those pieces together through this. And we're making it more integrated, more holistic, more comprehensive. and more aligned with the broader strategies that the city is involved in. So that is what this whole project is about. And I'm happy for those of you who are interested in finding a way to join us, to talk with you individually. But as you may have noticed from the program, I am the least exciting person on it. So I want to let the agenda go forward to the exciting stuff ahead and introduce Rashid. Rashid is a graduate of the Roots to Reentry program, and he will be talking later in the program about who he is and the program itself. But for now, I'll just say that for me, I see great similarities between his story and my grandfather's. He had a challenging time, but he has a very, very bright future ahead, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. And he will be introducing one of the leaders of our so-called Innovation Village. So, Rashid.